Welcome to Rising Together, Local Women Leading Differently, a podcast where we celebrate women, share resources, and tell the real stories of what it takes to lead and build differently. Here we believe visibility is power, collaboration is the antidote to competition, and vulnerability is the birthplace of trust. I'm Emma Malvani, a women's empowerment mentor, creating spaces for women to deepen their intuition, self-trust, and confidence in life and business. I'm honored to be your host and share these conversations with you. In today's episode, my guest is Stasha, a Kundalini Yoga teacher and regenerative detox specialist who believes the heart, not the mind, is the center of all healing. We talk about breathwork, manifestation, feeding yourself life, and the courageous work of stripping away what doesn't belong to you. This conversation will ground you and light you up at the same time. Here we go. All right, welcome, Stasha, to the Rising Together podcast.
Thank you, Emma.
Thank you. I am so excited to have you here because how do I describe this? Everything that you do just speaks to my soul. As I have followed you on Instagram, reading your website. It's been a crazy season, so I'm sorry I haven't been able to get to an actual class. But everything you do is so infused with beautiful intention and perspective that I just love. So thank you for taking the time to be here with me.
Well, thank you for having me.
Of course. Of course. So let's dive right in because from everything that I've been able to engage with from your website and on social media, I am seeing that the heart is really the center of everything that you do. And so, can we start there and can you kind of speak to that perspective that you have?
Yes, sure. Well, when I started on this journey and everybody else healing journey, it was kind of too many things out there. I was first thinking, okay, it's the mind, because whenever you have an issue, everything is about thoughts, about the mind. But it is, but it's not that it's not. But the thing is that I always say that mind replace what heart needs to feel, because
Mm,
there is a direct connection. Because when something is bothering us, it comes from the soul, from the heart. Because it is said through Kundalini Yoga that seat of the soul is in the timeless gland, which is right in front of the heart. So being that seat of the soul, and since we are the souls, of course, and the body is just our vessel. So whatever is bothering us, whatever needs to be healed inside of our heart, whatever our soul is asking us to heal, to come, forward with whatever it is from the past, from the present, then the mind starts replaying. And that's kind of our clue. Our thoughts, our heart is telling us, our thoughts are replaying what you need to do. What is it that you have to concentrate on? What do you have to go into the depth with?
yeah.
And that's how I kind of discovered that heart is the center of everything, because coming to the heart is that's where everything is. And I think that everybody actually were telling us that for centuries. But the thing is, somewhere along the way, we got lost.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's what we're seeing a lot of now is this disconnection. And we live so much from the neck up. And when we start to, what you're speaking to is like when we reconnect to that center, that's when there's so much clarity. We return to that. I believe that we are all loving beings, that is who we are at our core and at our center. And anything outside of that has just come from disconnection and life experiences and separation from each other, but also from our own soul. And so I love what you're doing to bring people back to that connection. And for my own education, but also for listeners, can you kind of explain the distinguishing characteristics of Kundalini yoga versus other styles of yoga?
Yes. Um, I would say Kundalini Yoga is a science. So there's a science behind it. And there's a lot of research about it as well. how it helps us actually to bring us back to that centeredness. I would say it's a science to heal the life. So healing the mind, healing the body, healing the soul, going deeply into the subconscious mind, gaining that vitality. So it's a different in a way that it uses and the mantras and the mudras. Now, for the listeners, the mantras are like affirmations, just in a different language. Mudras are cane gestures. So we connect to the certain mudras because we are electrical beings as well. So each finger corresponds to the certain parts of the brain. As we do this, that affects our brain and it kind of balances left and the right side. It affects our nervous system, it affects heart. So depending what kind of a mudra are we using, so electricity is an energy prana flowing throughout the body, making those pathways open that need to be. And then, of course, we're gaining a big, huge awareness as we are chanting the mantras. Because the mind, it's always on the run. It's on the rush. It's always thinking about the something. So when you use and the movement, asanas, and postures, along with the mantras, along with the mudras, the mind doesn't have a different option, but actually to stay quiet, to quiet itself. Because you're actually anchoring into all of that, into the movement, into the rhythm, into the mudra, into the mantra. So the mind just shuts down. The monkey mind doesn't belong there. So when your thought comes throughout the class, you just go back to the breath. And of course, we use a lot of breath work. There's a lot of breath work in Kundalini Yoga. Breath is life. Life is breath. I mean, it has been given to us for a reason. You know, as we breathe, and the one, it's very simple. People think we complicate things as human beings.
Hmm.
It's actually the life is very, very simple. Um, just breathing properly, long, slow, deep breaths. One who has the anxiety or it's not calm at the moment. There are just certain things, just like closing the right nostril, breathing onto the left will bring you into the calmness. So
Hmm.
that's why the breath was given to us. So using all of that makes Kundalini Yoga so powerful, where one actually experiences itself. And it's done with the closed eyes, which is a beautiful thing, which means that it's only you and your own energy. So you don't look around. There's no comparison. There is nothing. It's only you with you. So you can come into yourself and really figure yourself out. Who you are, what is it that you're looking for? What is it that your soul, your heart is searching?
I love that. And it's so dynamic. And I love that about the simplicity because, I mean, you're absolutely right. Like, we just overcomplicate everything. And I feel like peace and even connection to ourselves is so simple and so accessible. To your point with the breath, that we have that with us all the time. This energy that we can work with in very simple ways to reconnect and to come back. And gosh, I just love that. And even just thinking about the layered pieces of, when we work with the breath and then the calm that comes to the nervous system, and how that's so required in order to get to our truest self. Because if we're, if we're in the monkey mind and our nervous system is activated, we can't access that piece and we can't access that connection when there's so much activation in the way. And so I just love that. That's just so beautiful. And something that you're bringing to mind too is something that you say on your website, and I'm going to try and get it right, but that what this helps us to do is to reconnect to our soul, our intuition, and our ability to manifest from the truth, I think is what you said. And that feels so potent at this time as well, with the conversations around manifestation, energy. What are you bringing into the 3D world that it's so important to be manifesting from a place of grounded, connected truth rather than these kind of noisy, maybe manic kind of energy that we can see around manifestation.
Right. Because manifestation, it can be external, and a lot of people, yes, are manifesting with their thoughts, with their mind. And yes, you can manifest, but the thing is, you're manifesting external things, and you're beautiful. But at the same time, are you at peace? Are you at that inner stillness with all that you manifest? So if you don't have that, then what is the point? If you don't have the joy, let's say you want to manifest $1 million. So $1 million comes to you. But the thing is, do you really feel joyful inside? And do you still have that inner peace and stillness inside of you? Are you really connected to that truth, to inside, to that center of yourself, to that being, so you can be complete? But when you're manifesting from your truth, from the heart, from the soul, then when those external manifestations come in, then I can say that you can be fulfilled. It's like a full circle. So there's no have this, have that. It's just like that fullness of manifestations. Because without that, I mean, what is the point?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think like the core of manifestation for me is manifesting the energy, to your, exactly as you're saying, like manifesting that feel, those, excuse me, the felt experience that I want. And how that comes or what that looks like externally, I don't even really think about it or attach to that outcome. It's what am I cultivating inside? And I'm sure you maybe share the perspective of, your external world is a reflection of your internal world. And so if there's, blocks, if there's energy in there that's not aligned with what you're desiring or what your truth is, you're going to see that reflected in your external world.
Exactly.
Hmm. So, well, let's jump into a little bit of the work that you do.
Okay.
So, and you have kind of a lot of different ways that you bring this work to your audience. So let's talk about some of those ways because it's beyond just yoga, right?
Yes.
Do you have other? Okay.
So I always go with, if your body is filled with waste, with garbage, then your mind will be the same, because everything in the body is interconnected. We cannot just go and put in our body whatever, you know, unhealthy things. I'm not going to go maybe now into it, because each one of us have a different perspective of what's healthy and what's not. But I stand behind this truth that we're supposed to eat life in order for us to be healthy, to have clarity of the mind, and to connect actually to that centeredness. Um, we are electromagnetic beings, and to bring the electricity inside the body, it is through the yoga, through the breath work, through all of that. But the main thing is also the food. That's how we bring the electricity inside of our body. But if something is dead, if something it's processed, that means there's no electricity. It's not live. So that's that's the thing. And how I do this, I am a regenerative detox specialist. So, and I'm also iridologist. So iridology helps me, for all the listeners who maybe don't know what's iridology. It's looking yes. It's looking into the iris and seeing actually what's going on inside of the body. Where congestions, where the one is congested. So we cannot diagnose. I cannot diagnose. I cannot say, um, let's say you have palpitations, heart palpitations, or arrhythmias. I cannot say that, but I can see that something is going on in the heart. So I can see that and tell you, okay, there's something going on around the heart. There's something going on around pituitary, around the kidneys. How big is the inflammation inside of the body? And then taking it from there, I make the suggestions of, how to heal, what one should use, what one should eat, what herbals to use to actually bring those organs and inflammation out of the body to get well. And that's actually how I connected Kundalini Yoga and Regenerative Detox, because Kundalini Yoga provides us with this energetical pathways, opening the energy, healing energy pathways, bringing the body into the state of the balance, because we have a lot of stored in our subconscious mind. And the food cannot actually heal that, because we really, really, to go into the subconscious mind is this process that we do through Kundalini Yoga. So emotional things and traumas and everything is done through Kundalini Yoga. But then cleansing the body and detoxing the body, then that's a regenerative detox. So when you do all of that, then really there is a big thing of coming into the center, into the heart. Then you actually become this, you know, a person who you really are. No, nobody else is just taking off the layers of everything that doesn't belong to you and coming to that center. That's it. I mean, I know it sounds maybe complicated and I say it's simple, but in reality, once you start working on it, it is simple,
Hmm.
but it takes courage and it
Yes.
takes a lot of work. I'm not going to sit here and uh, lie, but it takes consistency and the courage and the time and to actually do all.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think our work is actually very similar and we just kind of come at it from like maybe slightly different angles. Because I do believe like it's so simple. It's not easy. To your point, it takes courage. And it's a process almost of simplification, of stripping away and excavating and, removing those layers of either experience and then physical blockage. And it's taking what our society has kind of complicated us as humans to the point where it's not in alignment and doesn't feel good, and bringing us back to who we are. Um, and even though it takes courage and it's not an easy process, I have found that it is profoundly worth it.
Mm,
The peace and the level of just at homeness that you can feel within your body is an incredible gift to get from this work. I wanted to go back to because I love your perspective and I had never thought of it this way around the nutrition and what we feed ourselves. So, in the kind of like a previous life, I was a holistic nutritionist and I was a plant based, whole food plant based nutritionist. And I had never thought about it from the perspective of feeding yourself life and thinking about it in terms of the electromagnetic component within our bodies. And we thrive and our bodies thrive when we are eating plant based and whole ingredients as much as possible. Our bodies are not used to and cannot identify and work with the toxins and the chemicals that we are eating. And not to kind of go on a whole nother tangent, but I just really appreciate that perspective of thinking about it as like feeding yourself life. That, of course, that's going to be reflected then in your physical experience and your health. That's that's a fascinating piece for me. That and the electromagnetic connection as well.
it is, because we have to
Mm-hmm.
think about because in Kundalini Yoga we use chakras as other yogas too. So, but the only difference is that in Kundalini Yoga we have the eighth chakra, which is our aura, our auric field, our protective field, our electromagnetic field. Since we are at the electromagnetic magnetic fields and electromagnetism, we have that eighth chakra. which is protective field around us. And when you think about it, it's moving the energy higher up, being in that higher energy, higher frequencies, higher vibrations to bring it up. I think it of in this way. Uh, just to think, where does the fruit grows? Because usually to heal chronically one has to stay in fruits. So that's 100%. There's no questions about it. I mean, we can cheat here and there if it's not chronic, but for really, really high inflammation, chronic diseases, one has to stay on the fruits. And that's what I tell all my clients 100%. And you have to think in a this way. So higher above the ground, the more energized, the more electric it is. And as we go down, that's more grounding. So that's why for
Mm.
those who do not have to be 100% on the fruits, because there are, people with just some minor issues that can, which is not a lot of inflammation in the body. So eating the fruits throughout the day, and then when you want to go to bed, when you want to ground yourself, then you want to go with lower
Mm.
veggies. So the roots, the salads, but still alive.
I
So
love that.
high above the ground, high electricity, lower grounding ourselves, bringing us to the ground. And I usually, especially during the winter, that's what I do because throughout the Kundalini Yoga, if I'm not using um, grounding kriyas, which is kriya. It's a set of exercises that we do. And in the classes, we always have those different kriyas for the different things, whether it's that strengthening that electromagnetic field or working on the uh, inside organs, on the liver, on the pituitary, on the thyroid. So many different kriyas, like hundreds of thousands of kriyas. So if I'm not doing my practice and in the class, the grounding creates. So my energy gets kind of too high. So I have to ground. So what I do, I go and I mean, of course, there are different ways to ground. We can walk barefoot, hug trees, and so on. But then during the winter, of course, those are the salads and the grounding veggies. That's what it is. So just think of it that way. The higher above the ground, the better it is. For example, coconut water, coconut
Mhm.
itself, high above the ground. And the people, I believe, I read it somewhere in the World War II, they actually used it for infusion.
Mm.
Yes, it is so powerful.
So I love this because this also feels it's such a great reminder of how natural it is to eat that way and how much that is just infused within our bodies that we probably don't even notice. Like when we think about eating seasonally, which is something I just do naturally, I don't even super think about it. But, in the winters, a lot more like soups that have root vegetables and, things that are coming from the ground and like a lower kind of being grown in that lower environment. And then in the summer, thinking about, all the different, fruits and different ingredients that would be higher up. That's fascinating to me as well. I love this perspective that you're bringing in that just
Yeah.
makes so much sense from just such a natural, intuitive standpoint. I love that.
And there's also another aspect of it when you're going back to the seasons. The first people were islanders. So that's telling us. And then we started, to migrate to the north. And of course, our diet changed, we changed, and so on. So we have, but it's a chemistry. It's a very simple when you think about it. It's a chemistry. There are only two sides of the chemistry. There is alkaline and acid side. There's no middle. And we want our bodies always to be a little bit on the alkaline side. We don't want to be too much because alkalinity too much, it's not good either. So we want to just slightly a bit be on the alkaline side. So that's why even the weather wise, the seasons, the summer, it's very acidic. The heat, it's acidic. So our body is asking us for fruits. So naturally bringing that into the balance.
Hmm.
And then during the winter it's very alkaline. So that's why our body is asking for a little bit more acidity, like the worm. So it's just the chemistry, and that's why I'm saying it's very simple. Life as well is very simple. Nutrition, it's very simple. Everything is very, very simple. But it's just that throughout the years and years, hundred of years, we've been evolving, we've been changing, we've been, um, I don't know, even brainwashing. Should I say this or not?
Yeah, 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 yeah. I agree.
That's the truth. That's how it is. I mean, that's my truth. Whatever I'm saying here, that's my truth. Everybody has their own truth, and their truths are probably beautiful because they're theirs, and they should live by them. So whatever you hear today, hear from me. That's my truth.
Yeah. Well, what I think, what I love and what I'm hearing, especially with this like simplicity perspective, is if we just listen to ourselves, our bodies intuitively know what they need. And so tune out all the noise and everything that we're being either told or anything that kind of contradicts what our body is telling us is true, then it's very easy. Of course, there's all that work kind of involved in stripping all that noise away. But when you get right down to it, like letting your body lead, it's simple and it's what is going to lead to optimal physical health as well if we were just listening to ourselves rather than kind of taking in all that external noise.
Yes, but the hardest noise, um, it doesn't even come from the society. The hardest stripping away all the parts of us comes from our childhood. That's that. Uh, those traumas and emotions stored inside. Stripping that away, that's the work. That's the work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what's brought me to recently internal family systems and IFS, working that into the work that I do because this was the same when I was in nutrition. Like, I don't like symptoms approaches. I don't like band aids. I like root cause. And I like to like needle into the heart of things. And for me, my path kind of led me to IFS because that's what resonated. But it's a very it's similar in the sense of getting to the root of those childhood experiences that have set us up for all this layering, right? I mean, we don't come into the world with those wounds and those experiences. We come in as innocent, loving beings and get put upon.
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
yeah. Yeah. So, what are some of the things that people experience when they come into a Kundalini yoga class or into your body of work?
Hmm. To be honest with you, to explain that, it's unexplainable.
Mm.
I whatever I mean, there are no words. I cannot use the words to explain it. One has to feel it because that would be like, um, let's say a person never swam in the ocean, never saw even the ocean or the sea, and then one was going and explaining, oh my, you should see that water. And I entered in and I swam, and you, the person cannot understand it, what's going on. So I would love it that, that I could explain, but the only words, I don't know, the closest that I could use is the peace, stillness. Just that. I don't know.
No, I think you're describing it beautifully because it's the language of the body. And so it has to be experienced to be understood. I love that. I think that's perfect. So tell people about how they can engage with you.
Through my website, Instagram, Facebook, regular, even though I'm not lately very, very active on social media, but maybe I will get back. We have to listen to ourselves and our body and our intuition, especially as a woman. We have to, listen to us. And but through the website, the phone, I'm located in Elk Grove Village. The studio is in Elk Grove Village. Um, Emailing me, texting me, calling me, so many different ways, just like everybody else.
I love this. I think it gives people a really great taste and helps to introduce kind of that exploration of self-awareness but also deeper consciousness, which I think you've spoken to just so beautifully. Those deep connections between mind, body, and soul. It's something we hear a lot as far as like, a holistic approach or mind, body, and soul connection, but to really dig into it and understand what that means and all the layers, we've kind of gotten like the tip of the iceberg today, which I think is great. Thank you so much for joining me, and I hope we get to connect again soon.
I think, yeah.
Thank you for tuning into this episode of Rising Together, Local Women Leading Differently. If you enjoyed this episode, I invite you to sign up for my Love Notes newsletter, which is your weekly surge of empowerment and inspiration with a heavy dose of realness from my own journey of rising. You can sign up at emmamulvaney.com/newsletter. Until next time, remember, we all rise higher when we're rising together.